Alex Can. How the heck do you come out of a cult and apply yourself to making a living? Well, how do you? Basically, like anybody else, you take the skill set that you have and you invest as best you can in trying to find some kind of job or employment or means of exchange so that you can get your three basics taken care of right away. This is something that whenever I talk to somebody who's just come out of a cult situation and is trying to get their bearings and their feet on the ground and stuff, there are always three super, super important points that must be taken care of before anything else. And that is roof over your head, food in your belly, means of transportation, right? You have to have those three things taken care of before anything else will be really meaningful or helpful to you. So those are always the first things. And as far as trying to find work, well, there's a lot of unskilled labor out there that people can do. But also, let's take a moment and really take a look at this. People coming out of, let's talk about the Scientology and the Sea Organization specifically. Pretty much every Scientologist, other than a small, the group of Sea Organization kids who grew up in the Sea Org, and there's however many of them there are, I think a couple hundred of them probably. Other than those people, most people in Scientology come into it having had at least a high school education already. Most public Scientologists see to it that their kids get educated, and the affluent ones, who are a lot of them, also are very interested in their kids going to college, unless they fully buy into the whole, Hubbard anti-college, anti-establishment line and rhetoric, and then they, encourage their kids to join the Sea Org, and they're very happy about that instead. But almost all of them insist on or really push hard to try to get their kids at least through high school, or through the private school they're paying for, or even if they're sending them to a Scientology school, they still want them to get, some kind of basic education. So my point being that pretty much everybody coming into Scientology has some, high school, maybe some college education. So when you come out, of course, you are just like a new person coming out into the workforce and going. It's just that you've been through some experiences other people haven't been. So once you get those three basics taken care of, then you can start addressing, okay, now let's take a look at what, just happened to me. And depending on how long you've been involved, how deeply you got involved, how committed, those things will then determine how much and what your recovery process is going to look like. These are all very broad. I'm speaking in very broad strokes here because context is king with this. You really have to take each individual person and then do some kind of a skills assessment and figure out what they can and can't do. I had a high school education. I went right into Scientology staff. As a Scientology staff member, I learned how to give orders, receive orders, run people. I was an educator in a way. I mean, as a course room supervisor. I wanted to impart information and education to people, and I got, I got okay at it, given Hubbard's insane methods of how to go about teaching. I mean, it's still the matter of the supervisor and the students working together and trying to help the person to understand concepts and ideas that they're reading about. So I feel pretty confident in my ability to sit down and help somebody learn something, for example. I don't have a 4-year degree, so I'm not going to go off and get hired as a teacher right away, but I could very easily see getting into teaching English as a second language, or I could get into teaching, a broad range of things, right? Just based on that skill set. I don't know that other people who had a similar experience to me would be able to say the same thing or feel confident about that. I'm just going to talk about me now, right? Other skills that I acquired while I was in Scientology was I taught myself how to do computer design and marketing, graphics type work. I did newsletters, promo pieces, things like that. I taught myself how to do that kind of stuff. I taught myself Photoshop, Illustrator. I even, taught myself how to do iMovie and stuff at the end of my CEO career, as I was making recruitment videos and stuff like that. This was all just stuff I was learning how to do internally. And all of those skills immediately translated into what you now see me doing. Also, let's see, executive functions, spreadsheet work. I mean, I learned Microsoft Office. I learned how to do computer programming. while I was in the Sea Org. I taught myself that because I was really interested in trying to make our office more efficient. And so I just taught myself Visual Basic, and then HTML, and then, JavaScript and VBScript. And I was writing web pages and stuff. And it was just incrementally learning, one thing after another, and applying myself to it on the job. I was actually doing my work and doing this at the same time, giving myself maybe an hour or two a day or something and working on that. You have, to go away from me for a while in the Sea Org, you have a wide range of jobs. You have engineers, you have electrical engineers, you have plumbers, you have like tradespeople, real professional level tradespeople, because that's what they learn to do while they're there. And if they're working in the estates area, for example, where they're doing grounds work, plumbing work, carpentry, renovations work, that kind of stuff. That's also something I learned how to do while I was on the RPF, is I learned how to do woodworking and carpentry and cabinetry. I built desks, I built shelves, I built tables, I built chairs. I mean, we just built this stuff. That's what we did for the ideal orgs. So there was a lot of tool work and that kind of thing that I also learned. A lot of people did. And those skills also are transferable when you leave to construction work or simple mechanical work, stuff like that. So I've seen people, people in the galley, they learn how to cook. I mean, I'll complain up one side and down the other about the quality of the food that we ate when we were in the Sea Org, but that doesn't change the fact that there were people who were down there working their asses off to make all that food for hundreds of people at a time. I mean, that's a whole nother skill set. And sometimes the food, when they had money and they could spend it on a decent menu, then we would have sometimes, some decent food. It was never anything that you would go pay for or that you'd, go out to eat and feel like, oh my God, this was such a great meal. But it was adequate, it was competent. So you get those kind of skill sets. So again, context and the individual really matter a lot as to how they're going to and what they're going to do when they leave the cult situation as far as making a living goes. So I don't know. I think that gives some idea. Let me know if there's anything I kind of left hanging or left out on that. That's kind of how we do it, And also, of course, now, one thing I should add, of course, is that now that we have the Aftermath Foundation in full operation, they are helping people find work or get their feet on the ground long enough to establish themselves and get the roof over their head, the transportation, and the food in their belly taken care of so that they can have the attention and time necessary to go out and get the job, the kind of work that they're looking for. So that's what I can say about that.